Greetings and salutations to our fine podcast audience. Ed, Nathan, how's it going?
It's good.
It's good.
Good. It's
I
good.
don't know if people can already tell, but we're at a different time than we normally are in recording.
They don't.
How would they
can't-
tell?
They can't know
How
that.
would they tell?
This is the morning version.
They won't know that.
Why is that
They
an
now know because I told them.
Yeah, but
And
What's
the
it
viewership went off immediately because they said, "What is this?"
It's the
back
morning.
in the
It's
nonsense.
it's the morning show.
Well, we would be the worst morning show.
and evening and afternoon.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Podcast for people who are bored.
For those who are also watching, you probably noticed that Ed and Nathan, you guys have something special that I brought for you today.
They
Yes,
didn't
you
notice
have.
the time, but they noticed this.
They noticed this. So last
I've
week,
got dirty water.
Last week you commented on my sparkling dirty water.
Yep.
Well, this week I brought you a
brought me
sample.
some.
I made you some sparkling dirty water.
I don't know if y'all can see that.
It
Is
smells sweet.
Oh, you already
Try it.
I want you. It's time to go.
I want you to try it, and I want you to tell me
Just
what
so
you
y'all
think.
know, in the waiting for us to get ready to go, I have tried to drink this 3 times.
And I had to stop it.
Jason has tried.
I want their reaction.
All right.
So go for it. What do you think about this South American?
Oh, that's very good. What is
Dirty
it?
water.
Wow.
Is this the pear one?
Yeah. So I found the packet, and I brought it with me for those watching. It's called Livion.
Livion.
Livion, and I
I
looked
don't know
into
what
it.
country this is, but these people are not immigrating.
Well-
That water is delicious in this country.
Yeah.
I can't read anything on the label except I did find a reference to the country of Chile.
Ah, so there
Maybe
you
it's
go.
from Chile. Maybe, I don't know.
I just love the way you say it.
That's
the
how you
correct
say
way
it.
to say
I know
it.
it's the way you say it, but I'm from the South. I don't
I'm
say
saying
Chile.
Chile.
So
I'm
I
saying
call
Chile.
it chili.
Chile. Like that stuff that you eat on hot dogs.
Exactly.
But no, I think it's from Chile. I like to say it just because it makes Ed laugh.
It does.
I do believe it's Chile, not Chile.
Chile.
You got to put the emphasis on the right syllable.
And y'all thought the viewership went down because I said morning show.
Someone who is from Chile, send in and give us the correct pronunciation.
You know, there used to be a lady.
If you just Google it, we will ignore it.
We had someone, a Chilean person, who used to attend
Okay.
our church.
So you like it?
I do like it. Yeah.
I told you it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Is that full of calories or no calories?
Oh no, it's like the back says 4 calories on it.
And so,
Oh, wow.
No sugar.
for the people that care about which cancer agent we're drinking, what's in there?
I told you it's in Spanish, so I can't read it.
Okay, that's the best kind of cancer causing agent.
Spanish kids.
There's some words that I could probably work
it.
out. I see aspartamo. That's aspartame.
I'm gonna say that's aspartame.
That's aspartame. I see.
Or the better version, aspartame.
yes,
Yeah.
citric acid.
Citric acid.
I'm
Okay.
thinking that's that maltodexatrina.
That's that.
That's the
That
stuff.
There's something dextrose.
Dextrose.
Something-
Yeah,
I think it's.
there's another dextrose thing on here. So
is
you
a
know,
sugar.
More riveting content.
caramel. There's colorante.
You know what
caramello.
people say? I would
Caramello.
listen to them read the phone book.
We're reading the back of.
No one has ever said that
You
about
should've
us.
just put this in the description and go, imagine, here's the list of ingredients in
Yeah.
Spanish. What does that? what is that?
So okay,
It's dirty water.
but it's really good.
Please,
really-
Lord, tell me there's something else on this podcast this week other than this.
Yes, there is.
Okay, Jason's got
Well,
something.
since you guys kept talking about it last week, I thought
It was
I'm
very
gonna
good.
bring
I'll say
some
it's,
in.
I am a little shocked for it.
Not that I remember the last podcast, but did we keep talking about it, or we
we mentioned it.
Okay, all
we
right.
talked about it for quite some time in the intro,
I don't
just
know.
like we're doing right now.
Okay, all right, fine.
It is good. I'll say that. It is surprisingly good for flavored water things.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad. So you enjoy that.
What is the price of this?
I have no idea. Somebody gave it to me.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the best
What is
price.
the
Free.
Chilean currency?
I don't want
Chili
to go
powder?
there.
Chili
They
dollars?
spell everything in chili powder. Oh, there you go.
Okay, on to the podcast proper.
Okay.
that was
Okay.
the minor part of it. So today we have 2 things to get done. We got 1 question
Uno.
and we got an interview. We're going to do the question first, and then we're going to do the interview.
That sounds good.
That's
Y'all
the
up
way
for
that works.
Y'all up
I
for
am
this?
for it.
All right. So
I think
first,
we should do the interview first and see if they come back for the questions.
No, I'm in charge. We're doing the question
Okay,
first.
All right, go ahead.
I did get a flood of questions this week. I got a flood equals 5.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get 1 this week, and maybe hopefully 2 next week and 2 the following.
All right,
week.
there
Sounds
you go.
good.
Sounds
All right.
like it.
First question from a listener: is there any validity to the extra books or added additions to the existing books that we find in the Catholic Bible? And their second question, follow up to that: any chance a version of purgatory exists? So, you want to tackle the first one?
I think so.
Yeah.
Extra books that are in the Catholic Bible that aren't in our Bible.
If by they mean validity, do they mean they are actual historical books written during that time period? Yes.
Yes, they are.
They are valid. And for lots of readers, they were always considered a part of their canon. Some Jewish sects,
And I
particularly the intertestament ones, the one between the testaments.
between like Maccabees and all of those. That's one of them. I do know that they provide lots of good historical context
Sure.
for
That's
some
right.
of the things that are going on. So in that regard, I would say, yeah, they're very useful. But I believe when the canon, we call the canon, it's the scriptures that we have compiled in our Bible were compiled, I think, as far as doctrine and what things that pertain to what we believe about Jesus and what we know from history. I don't think they considered those as reliable in that regard. I
think that's
Am I
right.
correct in saying that way?
Yeah, no, I'm good with all that. I think there's probably the thing I always lean on as far as, because I'm guessing what the question is trying to get at is why don't we do those? I mean, isn't that what you assume?
Probably, that's what I would think.
Why don't we? If there is validity, why isn't those in our Bible? I think I tend to lean on, at least in all that, of what's often referred to as the sufficiency of Scripture, in that what we have in the 66 books of nearly any Bible you're going to go pick up at a bookstore. I would say, I got to think 95%. If you go to Barnes and Noble and there's a Bible, there will be Catholic Bibles there, but the vast majority you can pick up are going to be these 66 books that are kind of in the Protestant, at least, Bible, that they are sufficient. And what that means is that it gives us what we need to know to be disciples of Jesus.
Yes.
To follow Jesus, to know him, to experience him. Are there benefits to the extra knowledge you might get out of the Catholic Bible and the extra books that are in there? I'm sure there is, and there could be benefit to it, validity in the sense that they might have good historical knowledge. If the question is trying to get at, is it wrong for me to read them? If that's what you mean, I would say it's wrong for you to read them. But as we say around here, even among the 66 books of the Bible that I read daily, that we read daily, not all of that is weighted the same. Most of the emphasis that we put on is the stories of Jesus and the teachings of Jesus, because all of the Bible is leading towards Jesus. So even in all of that, that's at least where I land on with validity.
Yep.
I personally have actually not read. I've read sections, but I've never sat down and read any of what are often referred to as apocryphal.
Outside of a class requirement,
Yes.
I have never read any either.
Yeah.
I had a long time ago. I read some for a class requirement,
I did
but
as well.
I have not read any others.
So then that leads to the second part of the question. They're asking, is purgatory a thing? Could that possibly exist? And I assume, because it was a back-to-back question, kind of put in the same. They sent it in the same time. This person is kind of assuming that that's where that doctrine comes from. I actually did a little looking into that. If you're not
Good.
familiar with,
I was going to wonder that too.
okay, good. So if you're wondering what purgatory means, most people, what they mean when they use the term purgatory is that there's this intermediate place that you go after you die, where if you have some sins on your account that need to be dealt with, you go to this place, you kind of purge those sins, and then you go into, what traditionally people have called heaven,
Right.
the final place where you're going, or at least for that time. That's what most people mean. So a lot of people want to know, is that it? If I still got some work to be done after I die to get into heaven, and many Catholics, of course, believe that. So I looked and did some research on where does that doctrine of purgatory come from, and I was assuming it was all going to be found in those intermediate books. I only found one passage that at least the article I read cited that it comes from, and it's a very obscure little passage in 2nd Maccabees that talks about Judas Maccabees, the guy that's based on.
The hammer.
Yeah, and he does this. There's this moment where he prays for some dead people and asks God to be merciful to them or something like that. And so that's where that comes from. The rest come from our scriptures. And I went and looked up some of those, and honestly, for me, the ones that I read, you got to bring that to the text.
Sure.
Like, for instance, one of them was the moment where Jesus says to the thief on the cross, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." Well, if you brought that assumption to that text,
You could think paradise was purgatory.
purgatory, but that's only implied, I think.
Right.
And there's another passage. Oh, of course, they use the passage where Jesus tells a story about the rich man and Lazarus, and how there was this state where he was talking to Abraham over on the other side. But when I read it, it's pretty clear that story says, well, there's no passing back and forth over
Right.
these two places. So, and again, it's a parable. It's
Right.
not a
Right.
It's not meant to give us blow by blow factual account. So again, I think you have to bring that to the text in order to get it. So
It would be interesting. I don't know the answer to this. Did your research say when this all started? When did purgatory start?
No, didn't go that far.
I'm
Didn't
not
go that
saying you
far.
did extensive research.
I did not.
I don't know the history of that.
me either.
And I know some of those things were just started by Pope edicts, where they would
Yes, that's
decide
true.
things back. I don't even know how long that's been around.
Well, and most people I've ever talked to about it, I say, well, where do you get that? And because it's usually Catholics that I talk to, and they say, well, this is what my church teaches me.
Right.
And I know that they place a lot of weight on the
Tradition.
position and
Sure.
the traditions of the church and passed down and all that, which, we can debate that at another time. But for me, when I approach the scriptures, I don't see that doctrine being taught very plainly. And so I don't see it as something that I would take any kind of hard stance on. The questioner says, is there a chance that it could exist? Okay, well, if you want to say that anything could be
Yeah,
possible.
those are my favorite questions because the answer is yes, there
Okay,
is a
yeah.
chance unless it
Yes.
specifically says no, and it doesn't say specifically no.
But even if that were true, Jesus didn't see fit to warn us about it
No.
or to give us anything about it. The disciples afterwards didn't give us any kind of direct teaching on it. So I think it's not something that we need to major in.
Well, and I do think when you go back to, you put the sufficiency of Scripture is to make me a disciple of Jesus. That everything, even Paul says that all Scripture is God breathed, and we often say inspired by God. But it is for correction and teaching and exhortation or encouragement that's supposed to be there to once again help me to be a disciple of Jesus. And I had a conversation at one point with somebody, and they said, "Don't you think we need to talk a lot about the afterlife and things like this in order to get people ready?" And what I said is, I think the best way we can prepare people for their afterlife is to make them disciples here and now. That if I can help a person be a disciple here and now, that takes care of itself, because Jesus has already taken. He says, anyone who is my disciple is going to be, I'm preparing a place for you. That gets taken care of. That I don't have to use fear of purgatory or fear of even hell to get someone to want Jesus. There's a difference between being scared of a bad afterlife and loving Jesus. And they can be two different things.
And I think at the end of the day, for me, the reason that I personally have reject that teaching, I don't put any stock into it, is because I think the way that it is usually applied takes away from the sufficiency of Jesus as our Savior. And if what Jesus did on the cross is sufficient to save us, then I think adding this takes away from that.
And that is what the book of Hebrews, almost explicitly
it does.
says.
And so to sort of make a final word on that, that's what I would say about that. I think that now, of course, people who do buy into this probably don't see it quite that way as I do. They would not see themselves as taking away from the sufficiency of Christ. I do. And so
I'm guessing the only reason a person who is alive is concerned about purgatory is they're concerned about someone who's already passed.
I think so.
probably.
And is there anything, and I'm speaking out of more of this much knowledge about purgatory, that there may be something I could do to help the person move on. I know that was one of the breaks between Martin Luther and the Catholic Church, indulgences and the idea of things I could do on earth to help get people out of purgatory. But, for me personally, I'm not sure why the idea of purgatory has any weight for me if it's not for the sake of someone who's already died. If it's just for me, if I follow Jesus, that's all I really need to know.
Sure. Yep.
What happens to me in the afterlife, what it looks like, what the environment is, where I'm at. There's enough clear teaching in the Bible that when I pass from this life, wherever it'll be, I'll be with the Lord.
Yes.
Wherever that is, I don't know whether that's I don't think it's the final thing most people think of as heaven, because in the book of Revelation, that's going to come at the end of time when it comes, the city comes down and the new heavens and the new earth. Yeah. If that's even the way that is, or that's a description, I can't tell you for sure I know that. I don't have to know that, in my opinion, but I do know that I'll be with the Lord. And that's the same thing he told the thief. You're going to be with me. You're going to be with me.
And that should be where we place our hope and trust.
So then my whole point of my life is to learn to be with Jesus. How can I learn to be with Jesus? And love being with Jesus, so that I am prepared to be with Jesus.
Well said.
I had a funny. This is a funny. If we're done with that question, just a
all right.
quick on that. That I was talking with someone recently who said they grew up in a very. I was scared of hell more than my parents tried to scare me, and the phrase they would often say is when they did something bad, they told a lie, they broke a rule, they'd say, "Well, I guess you're going to be roasting marshmallows with Satan in hell." And I said, that's a really high view of hell. That everyone gets a marshmallow. Yeah. Like Satan's walking around going like, "Did you get your marshmallow? I want to make sure you got your marshmallow." Coming to hell. It's a really good place to get a marshmallow.
Well, in Dante's version of it, you would be the marshmallow.
Depending on.
Everybody gets some of me, I guess. I'm the marshmallow that Satan is roasting.
So we had a good fun time with that of roasting marshmallows. Satan is a very good host, making sure everyone gets their marshmallow.
That conversation about fear of hell and the decision, I want to escape hell, I just also have had that discussion recently. It's interesting. I hadn't had that discussion for years because we don't teach that around here about you decide to follow Jesus to escape hell. That's just not the way we talk about it. And it hasn't served this person who's my age very well at all. They don't have a love relationship with Jesus, because Jesus really wasn't somebody to be loved. He was more like, he also was the judge. Ultimately, Jesus was the one that I was disappointing that was going to send me to hell. So
you got to get the right loophole.
Right.
It makes Christianity something I run away from rather than toward.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. And who wants to do that?
Yeah.
So, all right. Nathan.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what's up next, what interview we've got today?
Sure. Good friend of mine, good friend of our church, Derek Teagle, is the director, the founder of an organization here in Coweta County called Empowered for Life. They're a mentoring organization. Derek's going to tell a lot more about that in the interview. But we've actually been partnering with them for the last year or so and trying to just see what we can do to support what they're doing. And so I wanted to sit down with Derek because we had just recently taken, at the time that we had filmed this, we had just recently taken a trip with some people from Community Christian, some people from Empowered for Life, for us to go together to a civil rights museum called the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. We talk a little bit about that. We also talk about what Derek is doing and their organization is doing and how we can be involved with that. I think it's a really good interview. And of course, it's me, so it meanders and goes all different kinds of places. But I think you'll enjoy it a lot.
That'll be fun.
I hope so.
All right, so let's get right to it. Here's the interview now. See you guys next week.
Bye.
All right, well, I am here right now with a good friend of mine and the founder and director of Empowered for Life here in Coweta County, Mr. Derek Teagle. Derek, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, we are glad to have you back here on our podcast here to do an interview a little bit just to talk about what's going on. Our church and Empowered for Life, we're have a partnership. We've been working together for a little while now, and we've had volunteers go down to help you guys. And also, we just recently did a trip together where, where we took some people from Community Christian, some people from Empowered for Life, and went on a trip that I want to talk about in just a minute. But first, for people who don't know, Derek, why don't you tell a little bit about who Empowered for Life is and what it is you guys are trying to do, the difference you make in our community?
Basically, we're an organization that foundation is mentorship. God gave us this vision almost 14 years ago, be 14 years actually in 3 days, to do this, where we mentor kids. And once we find out what their gifts are, we find ways to maximize their gifts. We've been doing it for 14 years now. Right now, we have a total of 267 kids involved in Empowered for Life. We picked up 64 since the beginning of this year, so it's been a crazy good year of adding kids. But the main thing is to keep kids active. We have a daily group meet talk where we talk daily about what's going on in life in this world. We do 4 seminars per year with the students and the parents just to educate them. And we do a thing called college tours where about 20 times a year we take kids to different colleges just to get the ins and out of the next level of going to college. So those are quote unquote in a nutshell what we do. The main thing is keep the kids active. Like we're all trying to find volunteer opportunities to keep the kids moving, but also they to understand the idea of giving back. Because we are truly a blessed organization that's been involved for 14 years, which is crazy for a nonprofit to be involved for 14 years. But our main thing is educating. Also, our main thing is giving back to others.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. And Derek, I know you guys have been working with students in here in Coweta County. You guys work with a lot of athletes as well. Is that right?
Correct. Out of 267 kids, 132 are athletes. About half of them are athletes. And we've been helping the athletes find athletic scholarships and academic scholarships for 13 years. And out of the 13 years, we have assisted in 351 of them going to college on scholarships. And last year we had 51 kids that went to college on scholarships. So it's been a really, really good thing, per se, where we mentor the kids in the process. We mentor the parents in this whole process. But most important than anything, football or sports gives us an avenue to reach the kids. And once we reach them, it's our opportunity to use that platform to teach the kids about life. So we've got to find a way to reach them. And once we reach them, we teach them. It's what we look at.
So for those of you here at Community Christian, to kind of get you just a good vision of what Derek is talking about, this is the kind of stuff we talk about all the time around here, which is one-on-one acts of love and compassion that individual people take the little bit of time or money or effort or relationships that they have, and you invest in the life of somebody else. And Empowered for Life is doing that with these students, of being able to just take mentors, take opportunities, right, and to put those in front of students for them to be able just to see a potential in themselves and the potential they have to make a difference in the world. And it's just incredible to us here at Community Christian to get to be a part of that. We're going to talk a little bit later about how you can get more involved as a member of Community Christian with what Empowered for Life is doing. But I want to talk about something we've already done together, which is this past Saturday, which when we're filming was July 31st. Here at Community Christian, we announced originally we were going to do this on June 19th, but it rained so much that we decided not to go on the 19th. We actually went when it was hotter outside on July 31st to Montgomery, Alabama. There's a museum and a memorial. The memorial is called the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. And there is a museum called the Legacy Museum, which is created by the Equal Justice Initiative for people who have seen the movie starring Michael B. Jordan, Just Mercy. It's Equal Justice Initiative was created by the real life person from that movie, Brian Stevenson, and they're making a difference in our world about issues around mass incarceration and all different kinds of stuff. But the Legacy Museum kind of traces the history of slavery all the way to kind of currently with mass incarceration, and talks about issues of equal justice and equity. And so we took a group from Community Christian. Derek had a group from Empowered for Life, and we went together to learn together and really to build relationships together. So I kind of talked about a little bit about what we did, but Derek, you want to talk a little bit about kind of what the heart was behind this, of why we really wanted to get our organizations together?
I think more than anything that we understand that there's a need. We need to talk. We need to have conversations. And I think once we really get talking to each other, that we understand that we are very similar in a lot of ways. But also, I think it's needed that we go back and really understand our history, all of our history, not just a Black history, but all of history. And I think this was an opportunity for us, including myself, to really learn a lot more about lynching, and even in our area of Caddy County, but also learn about just the history of the slave trade. So I had so many kids. Two of them told me before we left that the trip was on a scale of 1 to 10 was a perfect 10. So just to hear that made everything worthwhile. Even though it was hotter than expected, but one thing I shared with the kids is that when they did the bus boycott, it was hot, it was cold, it was raining, it was snowing, like all these things was happening, and they still did it. So sometimes we need that humble thoughts, like, okay, it's hot today. Yes, it was hot, but they did it for almost a year, 11 months with the boys boycott. So definitely something that I really enjoyed, even though some of that history would make you sad, get you very emotional. But it's still good to hear it. It's still good to see it. It's still good to feel it. And they did a great job at the Legacy Museum and Memorial of bringing that stuff to light.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was actually my second trip. I had gone with my family back in January, actually on Martin Luther King Day. We went, and it was much cooler than it was when we went, because the memorial, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, is actually outside in a park there in downtown Montgomery, and it was hot to say the least, but as Derek said, both times I went, very emotional experience. And so if you haven't had a chance to go, you should definitely go. But what I'll say was different about the second time we went was that I went with a group of people that I didn't know. I didn't know everybody. My wife was in the group with me, but I was able to have conversations with people who had different perspectives,
Right.
who had came from a different cultural background, had different experiences with racial justice or injustice, and to be able to have conversations, and even the things that weren't said, but that you experienced just by being with one another, it changes the experience. That this was more than education. It was a chance for really us to come together and look at a problem that's a problem in our history, but it's still
Right.
very much a problem in our world today. And for us to be able to look together and just agree, this is wrong. God wants
Right.
to do something about it, and we want to do something about it. And so all of that, I think, was just very powerful to get to do. We're hoping to get to do another trip together in the future. Derek and I and a team of people are going to be working together on another trip. So if you're watching this from Community Christian, or if you're watching this from Empowered for Life, we hope that you guys will be joining us on that trip, because I just think the more people we can have go, the more of these kind of experiences we can have together, and the more we can get to listen to one another. And I know that's a big key for you, Derek, and everything that you do. Why don't you talk about just the key of having people who are different than one another get together and just listen to one another?
I think that's one of the biggest things is intentionally meeting people, intentionally getting to know someone. And this is just a great opportunity to not only take a road trip, which is always good, but to really get a chance to, man, I understand where he's coming from now, or I understand why she think that way. 'Cause I think a lot of times we make assumptions of, well, they're doing this because, well, how do you know if you've never been in their shoes? You never listened to them to say how their situation is. So I think more than anything, they give us an opportunity to sit down and truly listen. And one thing we do know about when you truly listen, you find out a lot of things about people, or a lot of things about yourself. So I love that opportunity because it really gives us a chance to really think like, man, I see the way Nathan thinks now. I get it. I understand. Or I see the way Derek feels now because he shared that with me. If you're not sitting down and making time to listen to someone, all that stuff really, really won't come out. And this way, it's a chance for all of it to come out.
Well, and I know for Empowered for Life, and you mentioned already your seminars that you do, but one thing that I know we've had volunteers from Community Christian go be a part of is your basketball leagues that you have
Right.
that go on for a month or so at a time, where you have students from Empowered for Life that come down to play basketball, but they're playing with either mentors or just people from the community that get to sit down, and they get to, once again, know each other and listen to each other. And I know you've mentioned that a big key for it is you have at the basketball league, I know you have at least one or a couple police officers who are there. They get to know the kids, and maybe a teenager who had assumptions about police officers. Well, now they know a police officer, and maybe the police officer who had assumptions about the teenagers in the community. Now they know some of the teenagers in the community. Why is that so critical to what you're doing at these basketball games and at all the different kind of seminars and stuff you have going on?
Because I was that kid on the other side that didn't trust the law enforcement officers, and thought they was dirty. So I came from a perspective that I was that kid, but I'm willing to listen, and that's something that I shared with former Chief Buster Meadows about 7 years ago. That at the end of the day, I told him I don't really like you. I don't like officers in general. I said, but I'm willing to learn, and I told him what I wanted him to do is that every time Empower for Life is doing any event or seminar or practice, have officers there, but we can learn each other. And over the last 7 years, me and Buster Meadows, Chief Meadows, have one of the best relationships, period, where we still contact each other now. Like every week we contact each other because we have a relationship. But it's built off one thing. He listening to me, I listen to him, I'll share some things that I thought, he shared some things that he think, and now we growing. So to me, the listening part and being intentional with it is very important. Like right now, I'm planning on meeting the new police chief just to have that same partnership, to know that, man, I want to help you guys. I want you guys to help us out. And what will happen once you start trusting the next person, I'm willing to tell you what has happened in my neighborhood now because I trust you. They're gonna make the neighborhood better. They're gonna make police and law enforcement better. Like everybody wins that way once we trust each other. But when you don't trust each other, nobody wins because we're not telling anything. You got to figure out yourself, and you don't want that. You want a crime to be solved, period. And community involvement in crimes helps out a lot when the community would tell you what's going on. And that's one of the barriers that's happened for years and years, is that so many people will not tell or share certain things because they don't trust them. But once we trust someone, you will share, like any relationship, whereas marriage, whereas friendship, whereas business relationship. If I trust my partner, I'm gonna tell some stuff. And if I don't trust him, I'm keeping it to myself.
Well, and what you're saying right there, for listeners of our podcast, should not sound foreign or should not sound strange. You should be amening and just being super jazzed about hearing that, because we know, as followers of Jesus, that is central to what Jesus came to do. That on the cross, God did not just reconcile us to God, but he made a way for all the walls, all the division between us and other people to be broken down. That when we come together for the sake of saying, hey, I love you, I care about you, I may not understand you, right. I may not come from where you come from, I may not think like you think, but because Jesus loves you, I love you, and I want to see how we can work together through the problems in our world. This is a great opportunity for us to do that. And here's what I know. Most people listening, I got to say most, 9 out of 10 at least, if not 10 out of 10 people listening go, yep, that's the solution. We got to listen to each other. We got to talk to one another, not at one another, all that kind of stuff. But here's the truth. Until you personally get out there and start having conversations with people and not at people, until you intentionally choose to get around somebody who's not just like you and that doesn't fit in the echo chamber of your demographic or your Facebook feed, until you do that, you're going to end up being part of the problem as well. And yes. So we want to give opportunities here with our partnership through Empowered for Life, and with really all of our partnerships in the community, for us to just get to know other people and to be able to share the love of Jesus one life at a time, through conversations, through listening, through action. And so I know Derek's got some stuff that Empower for Life is doing that we can help with, we can be a part of, we can put into practice what we're talking about. As I said, we're going to have a trip that we want you guys to be a part of. Probably is going to be sometime around September, right. October, November. But Derek's got some very practical stuff coming up. So Derek, why don't you tell people at Community Christian how they can get involved, even if it's just like a one-time thing or more regular than that. What kind of stuff do you have coming up? I'll go ahead and get you started with one. I know you've got a fundraiser. It's a golf fundraiser coming up in September, correct?
Correct. And basically what our golf fundraiser is, it's in honor of my son, Cameron, who was a childhood cancer survivor. So we raise funds for Empowered for Life as well as we raise funds for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta to give back. The funds on our end helps covers Empower for Life activities throughout the year. So so you take a big chunk of things that we do throughout the year and it covers it. And for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, it gives an opportunity to give back with kids with cancer. My son was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 12. So we know what that battle is. We know what that fight is. We know the hardships it's have on families. So it was our goal as a family to always give back to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So this fundraiser gives us that opportunity not only to help out kids locally with Empower for Life, but also help out kids globally with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So giving them a check every year is something that's very rewarding for my family and for my organization because we went through that for a whole year of my son battling cancer, the radiation, the chemo, like you went through that, the headaches, us going back and forth to the hospital. So we understand that battle. So it means a lot to our family. It means a lot for the organization that we give back, but also it benefits our organization with funding. We need funding, and as I said earlier, our numbers has increased to 267. So we have over 60 kids that's joined us this year, and we want to keep them active. And to keep them active, it costs money. So it definitely helps us out. It helps us out with our college tours for our transportation, where we take 20 trips per year, just take kids on colleges trips. It helps out with food on college tours. So it does a lot for us, like it really does. And it's our major fundraiser that we do. We're looking for golfers. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for anybody that just love kids. So if you fit in one of those categories that you love kids, or you golf, or you have a business, or you want to sponsor, that's what we're looking for.
So how can people help? People may want to get involved with this golf fundraiser. Like you said, they want to come volunteer. They want to sponsor something. They've got a business. Maybe they want to talk to, and I want to say this, some of you guys, you work at corporations, you work at businesses that they're looking for places to sponsor. They want to give back. You could mention this. How can they get involved with this golf fundraiser?
So basically, if you want to be a golfer, individually, it's $100 per golfer. If you have a team, which is a foursome, it's $350. If you want to be a sponsor, a whole sponsorship start at $100. Our golf cart sponsor, which is our highest sponsorship level, is $2,000. We have many other opportunities in between. At the tournament, if you're a golfer, you will receive a lunch, which will be provided by Outback Steakhouse. But also at the golf tournament, you have a chance to win a 2021 Toyota Camry, or you have a chance to win $1 million. So it's a $1 million shot golf tournament as well. So you have an opportunity to win a 2021 Toyota Camry, or you have a chance to win $1 million at the golf tournament as well.
Wow. So there you go. You got all the incentive you need. This is on Saturday, September 11th. It's at 9 a.m. and it is at, I'm going to look it up right here.
Arbor Springs.
At the Arbor Springs Coweta Club. So let's make sure that if you want to be a part of that, you can go there. Right now, you should be able to see Derek's phone number if you want to talk to Derek about it. Empowered for Life's website is also on the screen right now. So those are some ways you can get in contact with their organizations if you have more questions on that kind of stuff. But Derek, why don't you talk a little bit, because you talked about this event not only is going to benefit Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and raise funding for Empowered for Life, so you guys can do all the various great things you do with students. But one thing I know you've got starting soon is you're going to have these college trips to kind of give kids a chance who may not before have thought college was an option for them.
Right.
But then they get to go actually see it. They get to be on a college campus. They get to see it and see people thriving and enjoying life. And they get a picture, and they can, because they're physically there, they can picture themselves being there. So tell me a little bit about your college tours. How long have you guys been doing this? What's the purpose of it? All that kind of stuff.
So basically, we started in 2009, and we was doing a couple trips per year. Now we've done, since 2009, we did 107 tours. And basically what a tour is an opportunity to get the kids on a college campus, talk to college administrators to find out can they really go to this college. But also, if you're a student athlete, we get a chance to talk to college players and college coaches. Some of the trips are one-day trip or same-day trips. Some of the trips are overnight trips. Some have been weekend trips. And we do it as a way, once again, for kids that have the mindset they want to go to the next level. We want them to see it, really see what it's really about. So the tours are especially designed for our students, where they really do meet administrators, they really do meet college coaches, and they really do hang out with college players. And it works because now when it's time to make that quote unquote decision, you had 2 or 3 years of college tours that you really know what's going on when you get on a college campus. So once again, we start September the 4th. Our first one is Georgia State University. And we have so many other opportunities. We're going to Delta State, which is an overnight trip to Mississippi. We got a trip going to Mercer. We got one to go to University of Alabama. So just a lot of different trips that we got planned. And we've been everywhere. Like we've been to University of Tennessee. We've been to Florida State. We've been to Jacksonville University. We've been to UAB. We went to Troy University. So we went to a lot of places over the years. One year we did a 3-day trip to Memphis. Not only we did a trip to the University of Memphis, but also we got a chance to visit Graceland, got a chance to visit the Civil Rights Museum, the Bass Pro Shop. So we try to get the kids active and let them have fun while they're there. But also we know the purpose of them being there is really understands the in and out of going to college.
So, Derek, I know you and I were talking before. There's a way that if that's what you're really passionate about, and maybe the golf fundraiser, you're not a golfer and you can't even imagine yourself in that environment, but you do love the idea of helping kids understand the benefit of college and that they can change their life by being involved in all that. Derek, you had mentioned to me that there's a way that people at Community Christian, you can give money just directly to help with that. So talk about what that would look like.
So basically each tour we take 20 kids and we ask for a food sponsor. And basically what a food sponsor is to make sure the kid have a really good meal on the trip. So we ask for $10 per kid. So a per kid sponsor or a tour sponsor is $200. And basically it covers a meal while we on the trip for the kid. Now for the 3-day trips, of course, it's more than that. But the overnight trip or the same day trip, we ask for a food sponsor, and it's $200 per trip. Is to feed 20 kids what it is, and we use it as a way to make sure that it's not a kid on the trip feeling left out because he don't have money to buy his meal. So we make sure we get each kid $10 to spend when they go to a restaurant, where we going to a Burger King or a Wendy's or a McDonald's or a Zaxby. He's gonna have him a good meal.
That's awesome. And see, that's a very simple thing that people can do, and just another way to get involved. One final thing, have your basketball leagues already started back up?
We start at the end of November.
At the end of November. So if tell a little bit about how this is a way that's not necessarily getting involved with financially giving, but if you want to give your time, you want to go volunteer starting in November, tell a little bit about what someone can do if they want to volunteer with Empowered for Life.
So on that thing, what we do is we all ask for community coaches. And basically the only thing you're doing is hanging out with the kids, but talking to the kids and listening to the kids as they kind of control themselves on the courts. Referees, also people that are there to serve. And what it is, just an opportunity is to get to know the kids in a Chalk Level neighborhood, which is definitely a poor neighborhood in Coyote County. Most of the kids come from those neighborhoods. And a lot of the kids have never really got a chance to talk to someone that don't really look like them. So it's a way that people can come and talk and listen to these kids and see the gifts that the kids have. One of the things I've learned over the years with Empowered for Life is that a lot of kids have gifts, but they're untapped gifts. Where a kid might be so talented in landscaping, or a kid might be so talented he might end up being a barber. So they have these gifts, but nobody really is talking to them about their gifts, or they really can't see those gifts. So to me, it's an opportunity for the community to get together with these kids and just talk to them, listen to them, find out what they're talented at, find out what their needs are per se, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so that's an easy way. Once again, you want to get involved with that. Derek's phone number is on the screen. Empowered for Life website is on the screen right now. Derek, anything else you want to let people know about that you got coming up that people should have on their radar?
The main thing is the golf fundraiser, because like I said, it does so much for us. So where you want to be a volunteer, we always willing to have volunteers because it's just a crazy day. So where you want to volunteer, where you want to just come hang out, where you want to come meet the students, because a lot of students work the golf tournaments. So you get a chance to see what your financial givings are going to, which is always great. or you want to be, or you want to play. We definitely will welcome anybody that's interested in doing any of those things. And also, our broadcast station, we will be doing a live broadcast for the golf tournament. So you want to come and talk about what you're doing or about your business. There's a live broadcast all throughout the golf tournament that you can come talk about what you're doing and why you're supporting Empire for Life.
So there you go. The golf fundraiser is going to be on Saturday, September 11th at 9 a.m. Registration starts at 8 a.m.
Correct.
And it's at the Arbor Springs Golf Club right here in Coweta County. So if you want to contact Derek, his number's on the screen. You can talk with him about what's going on, or you can just be there on Saturday, September 11th. Volunteer, golf, sponsor, do something. This is a great way for us to support a great organization here in Coweta County. Thanks, Derek, for talking with us today.
Thank you.